What's good? What's good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of The Urban Platform Speaks. Make sure to like and subscribe as you tune in and check out the content. And with that being said, man, I want to speak on this NBA trade situation right now. Last year during the trade, I thought there was a little bit more. There was a little bit some better deals that was done. Like for instance, I like the fact that Golden State picked up Jimmy Butler. I thought that when they picked up Jimmy Butler last year, that was going to be enough to get him over the hump and probably get Steph out of the West and back into like in championship position again. But Steph got hurt and it didn't work out that way, right? So that was that. But this year was a lot of a hoopla around this NBA trade. This is wanted to see where people went at. You had Trey Young going to DC. Then who else winds up in DC? Anthony is Anthony oh man, Anthony there you go. Anthony Davis goes to DC, which they say he's not happy in DC. Um you got the Clippers. I mean, yeah, you got James Harden going to Cleveland, right? Leaving the Clippers, going to Cleveland, which I don't think that's a big splash, really. Uh, Milwaukee still haven't moved their guy Giannis, so really, I don't see any big winners this year in the trade. I don't see anything that's going to I usually look for like a trade or a move that's going to put a team in the playoff contention. But none of that, Ja Morant, where's Ja Morant going to? I can't. But I know they want him out of Memphis. They want him out of Memphis bad. As a matter of fact, they can't even get rid of Ja Morant, so they wasn't even able to move him because nobody really wants him. Anyway, I was listening to Scat Attack, right? And he was talking on the draft, and he made some interesting points, which I'm going to play the audio from his podcast. Then I'm gonna come back and add my my thoughts to it. So with that being said, um, I'm gonna play this audio and come back and add my thoughts.
Well, the hotly anticipated trade deadline came and passed. One of the biggest, most newsworthy times of the NBA year, outside of probably the annual moratorium that runs for roughly a week around the 4th of July holiday, when teams and players can negotiate and reach verbal agreements. Such bombshell deals were brought to us during that time frame in the past, as LeBron James taking his talents to South Beach and KD teaming up with the 73-win Warriors. But the NBA trade deadline is a very close second. And of course, it was just last year we saw the mind-blowing Luka Doncic trade to LA. This year, though, the massive domino never did fall, as Giannis Antetokounmpo is still a Milwaukee Buck. And really, there is only one reason for that. Giannis is just too damn classy and just too good of a guy to apply the appropriate pressure on this middling, moribund franchise, which has largely just flushed the best years of his career down the toilet. And Antetokounmpo is still in Milwaukee because Milwaukee just didn't feel the need to make the deal right now. So the biggest loser of the trade period is poor Giannis, who it now seems increasingly likely will just be deactivated for the remainder of the season as the Bucks try to tank their asses off to maximize their specific draft pick this summer while preserving Giannis and keeping him healthy for what promises to be a blockbuster trade also coming this summer. But
That's not a bad move by the Bucks, though. All right, so if you sit Giannis down for the rest of the season, you tank because they not even in playoff contention right now, right? So you tank, you get a high draft choice, right? Then on top of that, when you do need to move, when you're ready to move Giannis, now you get a whole bunch of assets and maybe even some more a draft pick for Giannis. So that's for Milwaukee. That's not a bad deal, so they can rebuild in a hurry. yeah, that's not a bad deal. Giannis put himself in that position though. He should really let it be known what he wanted to what he want. If he want out, he should get out. They would have moved him, I think, had he made it known that he wanted out. But they're gonna hold on to him, tank, and they're gonna get some assets because some teams may be able to make better moves during the summertime than they can right now, during the offseason than they can right now.
A bigger loser even than Giannis is predictably the biggest idiot in an NBA front office, or formerly, I guess I should say. That, of course, the disgraced former general manager, Nico Harrison, former general manager, that is, of course, of the Dallas Mavericks, who made that Luka Doncic trade a year ago. The bum, who the Mavs finally fired earlier this year. But yeah, that trade he made last February just came to a culmination with the Mavs trading Anthony Davis to the Washington Wizards. And the final package for a generation.
All right, so yeah, Anthony Edwards is going to DC, and people saying that Anthony Edwards is not happy. He's not happy with that trade, right? But I think Anthony Davis only played, I think, like 20 something games since he's been with the Mavs, so he lucky he's still in the league, in my opinion. That's number one. Number two, man, I just think with the Nico Harrison situation, I don't think that Nico made that decision to get rid of Luka on his own, right? You don't, like a franchise ball player, he took the heat for that, but he had ownership and the answer to management, the answer to, and so he's gonna come up with that on his own. Like, yeah, let's get rid of Luka. He took the heat, but that wasn't all on him. That wasn't all his decision.
Superstar in Luka was one rotation player in Max Christie, two bad first-round picks, which will be 20th something or worse, and one unknown first-round pick, the Lakers, coming in 2029. Basically a similar package that the Memphis Grizzlies just got for Jaren Jackson Jr., who, yes, is a nice player, but is not Luka Doncic. Speaking of Jackson, another loser was all of the upper echelon teams or title contenders, as mostly all of the splashy deals revolving around all of the top-end players were made by the drudge of the NBA. Beginning, of course, with former Defensive Player of the Year Jaren Jackson Jr. going to the Utah Jazz. The Wizards, meanwhile, brought in not only the aforementioned Anthony Davis, but also Trae Young, while Ivica Zubac was traded away in the fire sale by the Clippers. The 29-year-old center, who finished 6th in Defensive Player of the Year voting last season, was traded to the Indiana Pacers. But back to the Clippers, though, and that fire sale.
I like Zubac. I like Zubac going to the Pacers because, remember, you get Tyrese Halliburton. He'll be back by next season. And they got some other nice pieces over there. So I like Zubac in there. Down in the paint, gives them for Indiana a better low post presence. He's pretty crafty down there, and he's really good at passing, right? So that's a good move for Zubac and Indiana. I think that is going to work out for them.
Which somehow Kawhi Leonard did survive, for whatever reason that is, which is an obvious blow-up job and rebuild by the LA Clippers. Leonard's former MVP running mate, though, James Harden, did not survive the sale. He, of course, demanded a trade, his fourth trade demand with his last 4 teams, and was sent to the Cleveland Cavaliers. And say what you will about the substantial history of James Harden's prolific pant-pooping sessions in the postseason throughout his underwhelming career, but the biggest clear-cut winners of the trade deadline has to be the Cleveland Cavaliers, a team that has been underachieving all season long on the heels of a 64-win campaign last year. Well, they are finally on a hot streak right now, winners of 9 of their last 11 games overall, and they just shed the weight of their 3 worst players, at least the worst players based on individual net rating. That would be Darius Garland, DeAndre Hunter, and Lonzo Ball. The Cavs shed all of them and turned those guys into James Harden, Keon Ellis, and Dennis Schroeder. It appears the Cavs are now squarely back in the title hunt, at least the hunt to win the Eastern Conference.
Now I can see getting rid of Lonzo and the Hunter guy, but I like Garland. I like Garland. I thought that, but the reason why they got rid of Garland, I think, is because they're going to bring LeBron James in next year. So they got Harden and they're gonna have LeBron. So they don't really need Garland, right? But if I'm Garland, man, I'm mad. I'm upset with Clutch because they didn't really, the way they representing him, what's the name? Rich Paul, the way the guy Rich Paul is representing him, he's not doing what's best for his client, man. And so I don't Clutch, I don't like them as a management team, man. They only client that Clutch really look out for is LeBron James. So they have all their eggs in that LeBron James basket. Once LeBron James is out of the league, I think that Clutch is going to fall apart as a sports, like they're not going to be representing a whole bunch of people. They're going to fall off. So, but yeah, this year's draft, in my opinion, was kind of like, I don't see nobody made a big splash. I don't think Cleveland got any better with James Harden. I think they just loading up for next year when they bring in LeBron James and whoever else they are fortunate enough to bring in next year to help those guys out. But other than that, man, it wasn't no really moves made, whereas though a team this year be like, okay, yeah, like I said, like last year when Butler went to Golden State, then I thought that was something interesting to look forward to. But yeah, man, it wasn't no big winners or losers in the draft. I mean the trade. So with that being said, man, y'all make sure to like and subscribe. Also, don't forget to leave a comment, and I will check you all out in the next video. Peace.